I saw so many janky, mashed together setups at Abyssal Beasts just hopping between worlds that I had to make this guide. I've cracked them. 1.2 million XP per hour, no aura required. If you're still using Siphon or Ghost, fighting them in your personal Slayer dungeon, or if you're just clueless in general, you better watch this video. We'll be fighting beasts in level 35 Wilderness. It's not that bad to find a world anymore now that things have calmed down. We're using the Wilderness to kill beasts because of two boosts that only work there. First is the Infernal Puzzle Box at tier 6. The box gives us a 9% damage buff and even more importantly reduces damage taken by 14%. The second boost requires a lot of questing, but if you have access to the Glacier Cave, you can get a 3% damage buff from the Stone of Jazz. It's okay if you don't have the buff, but it does increase XP per hour. A big part of this method is making sure you have lots of adrenaline. The Scythe ability burns through it fast, so the more you have, the more XP you're going to get. I've noticed some players having trouble with adrenaline, so I'm going to dedicate a small portion of this video to just go over how to get the most adrenaline possible. There are 3 Necromancy abilities that give adrenaline. The 2 basics, Soul Sap and Touch of Death, which give 9% adrenaline, and then the basic auto attack, which gives 8% adrenaline. The Fury of the Smalls relic will boost the adrenaline of Touch of Death and Soul Sap to 10%, but the auto attack stays the same at 8%. If you use the perk Invigorating 4, then it will boost that auto attack up to 10.8% adrenaline. However, if you use the perk Impatient 4, it will boost Touch of Death and Soul Sap by 3% adrenaline about 1 in 3 times you cast it, which makes their average adrenaline with Fury of the Smalls 11.08%, which is better than the perked basic auto attack. However, it's worse if you don't have Fury of the Smalls on. The other perk that helps with adrenaline is Relentless 5. Every few minutes, this perk will activate and cause an adrenaline-consuming ability like Death Skulls or Scythe to not use any adrenaline. Over the course of an hour, this really adds up. Next, we have the physical item, the Ring of Death. The ring has a 50% chance to give you adrenaline every time a monster dies. This scales depending on their hit points. For beasts, it averages to 2.5% adrenaline every kill. There's another ring, the Ring of Vigor, which gives back 10% adrenaline when you use an ultimate ability. When you cast Death Skulls, this means you get 10% adrenaline back. It's possible to unlock a passive version of the Ring of Vigor if you completed the Extinction quest, which is a really big help because that means every ultimate will always use 10% less adrenaline. There's also the Zut Cape upgrade, which will help with Death Skulls unstack with that Ring of Vigor to get the total cost to cast it down to 50% adrenaline instead of 100%. There's also a Relic Conservation of Energy that can get that even lower to 40%, but it uses a lot of Relic power, so we're not going to use it in this guide. There's also an aura, the Supreme Invigorating Aura, which gives back 10% adrenaline when you use an ultimate ability, making it possible to cast Death Skulls for only 30% adrenaline. Besides that, there's another aura that gives adrenaline called the Inspiration Aura, which every single target an attack successfully hits on gives you 0.5% adrenaline, which really adds up and will give you the best XP per hour at Beasts by a small margin. The biggest issue people have at Beasts is accuracy. When we're at Phantoms, we have the Salve Amulet E, which gives a 20% flat accuracy boost, which is huge, but we don't have that here. At lower Necromancy levels, you'll be well below 100% accuracy with the optimal loadout. Mimicking level 99 with Overload Salves, I was only getting about 77% accuracy with the best loadout. However, making a few adjustments, I can get that to over 90%. At level 90, you cap out around 85% accuracy. I wouldn't do Beast at any level lower than 90. The reason for the accuracy differences is because of Demon Slayer equipment. It gives a 4% damage buff, which is great when you have 100% accuracy, but otherwise actually sets you back. If you aren't around 98% accuracy or above, then use Power Armor instead of Demon Slayer armor. Add in pieces of Demon Slayer as you level up and hit those higher accuracies. You'll also want to use an Ice Nihil familiar until you get 100% accuracy. Here's the full gear loadout I use around level 110 or higher. Like I mentioned, swap to Death Dealer robes instead of Demon Slayer if your accuracy isn't high enough. You'll notice I have an Essence of Finality on. This helps with both accuracy and additional healing from Soul Split. If you're low on cash, you can opt for a Demon Horn necklace instead with an attuned Ectoplasmator for unlimited prayer restore, but that will hit your accuracy badly and drop your XP per hour. It will also hurt survivability and GP per hour. Besides that, I have a Ring of Death for the extra adrenaline, a Zut Cape for Death Skulls, and a Rune Pouch for prayer bonus. You can opt to use a quiver with Enchanted Onyx Bolt in it instead to save an inventory spot. You'll also want to make sure to subscribe here so you can stay up to date on future metas. Finally, the God Book. The easiest choice for a God Book is the Book of Wen. You don't need to worry about surviving and you can get top XP rates. I did find that a Book of Full gives basically the exact same XP rates as the Book of Wen here because of how the monsters group, so I used that instead because it costs less per hour. The issue with the full book is that you will die occasionally if you're not using the Death Ward relic. With the Defense Cape perk, it's fine, but I definitely would not use it on a hardcore Iron Man. That brings me into relics. If you're after XP, then use Berserker's Fury, Fury of the Smalls, and Inspire Awe. If you die with these relics, then swap Fury of the Smalls to Death Ward. At lower levels, the Death Ward relic will be very helpful. For perks on my gear, I use the exact same setup as I had for Phantoms. Aftershock 4, Precise 2 on my main hand, and Equilibrium 4, Ruthless 3 on my offhand. It's worth mentioning that Equilibrium doesn't really give much of a DPS boost with Necromancy due to the small damage ranges, but Ruthless gives us a consistent 7.5% damage buff because we're killing tons of targets. If you're bossing, you'll want different perks. On my armor, I have Invigorating 4 Demon Slayer. The Demon Slayer perk is very important here as it gives a big DPS buff. Then I have Impatient 4, which is also very important for adrenaline gain. After that, I use Biting 2 Undead Slayer, but you should really use at least Biting 3 or ideally Biting 4 on your armor. And then finally, Relentless 5, Crackling 4. You can use just Relentless 5 if you'd rather. In my inventory, I have a portable obelisk. You can buy single-use teleports from the GE if you don't have this item. It helps you get to beasts really fast. Next, I have Excalibur for emergency healing, but you shouldn't really need to use it. Then I have Potion Reservoir to drink my potions for me, and a few Elder Overload salves. You can usually use regular Elder Overloads, but at high levels with the tier 99 prayer, you may have some issues with prayer sustain, which is why I have the salves. For our prayers, we'll be using Soul Split and your highest DPS prayer. After that, I have Penance Powder and the Holy Wrench for prayer sustain when I'm not using the Penance Aura. After that, I have XP Capacitor 5000s for extra GP. They've been crashing in price since my last video, but they still add a comfy 3 mil extra per hour. Then after that, I just have drop placeholders. You'll notice I brought a clue bag. If you like doing elites, these guys drop a ton of them. The last two items I have are a quest cape to teleport to the Glacier Cave for that 3% XP buff, and then Lanthanime incense sticks to extend my potions longer. You can also take Torstol incense sticks if you want a small XP buff. I'm going to walk you through getting to beasts and setting up correctly. It's a lot easier than Phantoms because it's just one teleport and you're basically done. You'll see I use my portable obelisk and then teleport to level 35 Wilderness, option 4. That'll take me to the obelisk, and then just north of me are beasts. Now you'll see this pile of bones right here. Just north of the obelisk, that pile of bones, you want to stand 2 squares north of it. So I'm going to turn on my prayers, then head out 2 squares north of it. At that point, there should be 5 beasts that'll try to attack me. This one will get stuck behind the pile of bones right when you set up. If you kill it once, then after that, you're good to go. It'll group correctly. So I get it to attack. Then I head back just north of the bones. And I should be all set at this point. Make sure you have your aura on, activate your book, and that's it. I like it more than Phantoms just because it's so easy to set up, whereas Phantoms you gotta run through, you gotta lure them correctly. Here it's just walk in place and you're good to go. You can teleport out, teleport back. It's really fast to get here. So for just casual leveling up and getting some GP, it's a great option. I think for many players, it's the better option. But yeah, that's it. Make sure you're in this exact spot, because if you're not, you're going to get lower XP per hour because less beasts will attack you. Now for the aura breakdown. Interestingly, I found that because you auto-retaliate faster on beasts compared to phantoms, the bar Death Skulls, Soul Strike, Soul Sap, Scythe, Touch of Death, and the auto attack is the best with every single aura. You shouldn't have any survivability issues with the exact setup at higher levels, but you will need to make some of the gear and relic adjustments I discussed if you're lower level. With the Penance aura, I was getting just over 1.2 million XP per hour at level 120, and with the Inspiration aura, I was getting about 1.28 million XP per hour, or 1.3 million with Torstal Incense sticks. I've heard rumors of rates close to 1.4 million, but I wasn't able to replicate it with any loadout I tried. Likely it's just from bad XP calculation, but if you have any idea if it's possible, let me know in the comments and I'll try it out. If you don't have the Zut Cape, then the bar Scythe, Soul Strike, Soul Sap, Touch of Death, and the auto attack should work well. You will need to use Death Ward Relic if you're not using the Inspiration aura. If you've tried everything in this video and somehow you still can't survive, I suggest using Death Warden for your gloves, boots, and helm. If that still doesn't work, then you can put Siphon at the end of the Scythe bar and slowly move it closer to the front until you find a spot where you comfortably survive. For cycling auras, I suggest the following order. Start with Inspiration, then use Supreme Invigorate. After that, Dark Magic, then Majorat. Then you'll restart the cycle, Inspiration, Supreme Invigorate, Dark Magic. At that point, you can use Penance or you can go outside and enjoy the day.